Hello, Maverick traders, and welcome out to your daily market roundup. This is Ankit here, and I'll be breaking down today's market price action and most importantly, talk about our upcoming 24 hours here. Let's get into it. As always, we'll be taking a look at broader market analysis, take a look at what's happening with our sector heat map analysis, take a look at some news, and then we'll take a look at some possible setups ahead. Let's get into it.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional stock and option traders. Maverick Trading is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
So jumping into market analysis, let's jump right into the headlines and the numbers. And here we are with another ugly day in the market. So let's just take a look at the numbers. So Dow Jones down 1.3%, S&P 1.4, Qs 1.8, small caps down 1.5. You can see that everything was kind of moving down across the board. On the other hand, we have gold put a nice gains here. So when we look at the headlines today, the market did close lower in this correction territory. We did notice market try to put a bounce, but that bounce quickly giving up here. So what we have seen the last couple of weeks where, we sell off on a Monday and a Friday, in between we sort of have a bit of a rally. It's not really seem like this time around. We're seeing more weakness here. So tomorrow we'll see what happens. But we definitely have more negative momentum here. Now we have the gold market. I mean, if you're watching gold chart, we are officially breaking out to new all-time highs. So, that the gold market again, can't believe it's up into 3,000 there. So that's a big mover here today. Now, as far as the advanced decline goes, you can see it's just terrible. 74% down, 23% up, and then here we are with a plus minus 50 MA, 74% in the red, and only 26% in the green. So let's just take a look at where we are and the charts. Now you can see that we did try to put a bounce here, but this is again, look at the past. We had seen some good bounces between 1, 2, and 3. And this time around, we got some good overnight price action, but then during the day, we keep getting pushed down. And then here we are sort of breaking down to lows here. So at this point, the markets are now closing officially into the correction territory, and I think at this point we could see maybe selling intensify here. We haven't really capitulated here. I know there's a lot of traders trying to buy the markets here, and I think this is where it could get a little painful before we can really turn around. So I think today's close was not really the great close. So next 24 hours, we'll see what happens. Now, when we take a look at outside of the S&P 500, take a look at RSP. Equally weighted index, you can see the same thing breaking down lower. So nothing really is sort of, coming out unscathed from this. Everything looks pretty weak here. Here's the NASDAQ down in the lows as well. Now, if you take a look at this heat map here, you can see that it's just not all about the technology here anymore. We're seeing a lot of other pockets that are just selling off here. So as these tariffs are sort of ratcheting up, I mean, we are not seeing any de-escalation. We are only getting more and more of that. So I think that's what's lacking this week is just not a whole lot of good news. Everything has been more on the concerning side, and that's just really keeping weighing down the markets here. Now, as far as the market outlook goes, again, I was kind of more like a neutral going to this week, but then, based on where we are, I think we can't deny that this market is continuing to be more on the downside here. So, not really expecting a whole lot in the next 24 hours here. But as always, we're going to take a look at some possible setups, looking at based on relative strength and weakness. There's definitely a lot to be found on the downside than the upside here, but here's the few. So gold is the first one. You can see that after a big consolidation period, this thing has been, this may have been more like brewing up to have a big breakout. And you can see that we broke out above that. So at this point, really the big question is, does this prior resistance holds? We reclaim this, we get to this 3,000 level, but how much further does it go? But I think for now, you should just want to go with where the momentum is. That's what the gold is. But something something is good to kind of watch, but at the same time, I think this could get parabolic here a little bit before it turns around. So good momentum in the short term. Now, on the other hand, we have MO, Altria Group. And you can see that this is nicely making a little high base. So far, it seems to be unaffected with all this noise that's going around. So, so far, a sweeter spot over here. And then here's the third one, Duke Energy. And you can see this thing is also trading in a range here, which again, ultimately breaking above that 120 will break out to highs here. Now, as far as the underperformer goes, I think there's just not a whole, there's a whole lot to kind of go through because the pattern's going to look the same. This is intuitive surgical. We got a little bounce here and then we're breaking lower. So at this point, it looks like it could correct a little bit further here. And all these names that actually did really well, remember a lot of these names that got cratered back in 2022 had a massive rally. And I think these ones are likely to underperform here. Here's Carvana, looking at Robinhood. You can see the same thing here. Here's the other one, ARC, and you can see the same thing here, just slowly going lower. And then lastly is Coin. And you can see that these one didn't even put a big bounce. They sort of based before rolling over. So I think there's definitely more downside risk in these ones. This is where the air got more pumped in, and I think we are just getting more correction here. So is the market going to bottom out here? Again, we were kind of seeing some bottoming out price action, but I think right now we might go for another push lower before we can recover. Remember, there's a lot of people are trying to buy this dip here, but I think as the market rejecting that, that's going to set up a little bit more panic too, because you're going to have all those people who bought it wanted to sell at a loss, and I think we could see some capitulation price action. But until you really see that, I think this is still price action is still more gearing up to the downside. Now, for the economic reports, we have this University of Michigan consumer sentiment. Remember the last month, this number really moved the markets. That's really where markets weren't really expecting, and suddenly that big dip caused a lot of concern. Now, if the number comes out weaker tomorrow, I won't be surprised, that continues to put that pressure on, but I don't think it's going to have that big move like we had like a month ago. This is very similar to what we saw back in, April, May, June, July, like last year, where, we saw some consecutive numbers down, revisions down in those consumer sentiment numbers. So I think we probably continue weighing down on that consumer sentiment. And again, not a whole lot going on as far as the earnings report goes. So let's see what happens tomorrow. Usually Friday has been very eventful days. But based on the way we are, we could have another ugly day tomorrow to an ugly close, or we could just hang around here at these levels, or maybe try to put up a little bit of bounce. But yeah, these markets are sort of at these levels where it could get worse or it could bounce. I think we're going to use a lot more extra caution here, especially as you're trying to pick out like your options, expirations, and like how far should I go out. I think these are the ones you can do some nice, good weekly options, but it's hard to know where the market's going to be in the next 2-3 weeks. So, be cautious. And again, if you don't liking the price action, or not liking with the market environment, remember we have this April 2nd as that deadline looming for the rest of the reciprocal tariffs go. So I think in the next couple of weeks we're still going to have this going on. So just take it by week. I think that's the right strategy here. Thanks for joining here. See you in the next session here. Happy tuning. Bye bye.